As the courtroom doors swung open on the second day, a hush fell over everyone in attendance. The atmosphere was tense, reminiscent of a stillness before an unforeseen storm. Moments earlier, Diddy had arrived with his legal team, radiating the self-assurance of someone used to being in the limelight. Yet, as the judge took her seat and the jury filed in, a flicker of unease flashed in his eyes, like a storm cloud lurking beneath a fragile exterior. In sharp contrast, Cassie walked in wearing a simple charcoal suit, standing confidently with a serene expression. She was without an entourage or security, only a few close friends quietly supporting her. While Diddy's entrance felt orchestrated, hers appeared sincere and well-deserved. It was evident from that moment that the day was already tipping in her direction. Welcome to Celebrity Cookies, where the tea is always hot and the stories come with sprinkles of surprise. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment with your take on the story. Before any testimonies began, whispers circulated through the gallery. Gasps and raised eyebrows followed as someone revealed a social media post that had emerged just an hour before court began. Justin Bieber, once a mentee of Diddy and who regarded him as a brother, had openly voiced his support for Cassie. He didn't just offer a vague message of sympathy, he mentioned specific individuals, recounted particular incidents, and shared detailed accounts from parties and behind-the-scenes interactions. The post was straightforward, impactful, and damaging. Diddy's reaction was immediate and palpable. Sitting at the defense table, he clutched his phone tightly, as if bracing for an impact. His jaw clenched, his knuckles turned pale, and a barely perceptible tremor ran through him. He frequently glanced down, opening his lawyer's folder to partially shield his face. However, even behind the folder, the flush of anger was evident on his cheeks. The judge called the court to order with a sharp rap of her gavel, cutting through the tension, but it hardly made a difference. In that charged atmosphere, all eyes were on Diddy, eager to see which version of him would emerge, the composed mogul or the man devastated by betrayal. At first, Diddy tried to regain his composure. He sat up straight, placed his hands in his lap, and nodded politely when addressed by the attorneys. However, beneath the surface, he kept scrolling through Bieber's message. With each read, his expression grew darker, and his breathing became erratic. It was like watching someone struggle to contain a powerful wave. When the prosecution called its first witness, a court officer tasked with documenting the day's evidence, a silence enveloped the room. Everyone focused on the badge that Diddy's attorney was now staring at with near desperation. However, before the courtroom could settle into the morning's proceedings, the prosecution introduced Bieber's post as evidence. Screens around the room lit up, displaying the exact words. "I've known Cassie since her teenage years. I witnessed him grip her arm too tightly at that after-party in 2015. I saw him interrupt her mid-sentence, speak on her behalf during interviews, and dictate her every action. I regret not speaking up back then. She deserves to reclaim her voice." As this text appeared on the screen, the atmosphere changed. Jurors leaned in, reporters took notes, and even the bailiffs paused in their tasks. Diddy's head snapped up, his eyes locked on the screen, as if he could incinerate it with his stare. Then something inside him broke. He slammed his hand on the table, sending legal pads flying. A glass of water next to him slid across the surface and shattered on the floor. Startled whispers filled the room. A bailiff stepped forward, prepared to intervene. Diddy abruptly stood up, causing his chair to crash backward. "Lies!" he shouted, his voice echoing off the high ceilings. "All lies. He's distorting everything I ever did for her, every career opportunity, every chance I provided." His lawyer jumped up, trying to pull him back into his seat, one arm around Diddy's shoulders and the other clutching a stack of papers. "Sean, please," he pleaded. "Calm down." But Diddy shrugged him off, angrily pacing along the table. With each pass by a juror's box, their expressions grew more tense. The lead prosecutor remained still and focused. Cassie, watching from her seat, remained unresponsive. Her calm demeanor only heightened the impression that she had faced greater challenges and would conquer this one as well. The judge struck her gavel with such force that it rattled the glass beneath it. "Mr. Combs, sit down. Now." Her authoritative voice cut through the air. Diddy paused, breathing heavily, his gaze fixed on Cassie. For a brief moment, the image of his former mentor, who once referred to Bieber as his little brother, and Cassie as his muse, flashed across his face, only to be replaced by anger and a deeper sense of panic. Security intervened, with 2 officers flanking him as he finally sank back into his chair, his shoulders slumped and his head spinning. His lawyer continued to speak softly, but the judge's next command overshadowed him, a 15-minute recess. Then came the final blow, a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation and increased security measures. He would have no phone access and would be accompanied by a guard at all times. His privileges were stripped away with the sound of the gavel. When court reconvened, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Cassie took the witness stand, prepared to share her story. Her voice remained steady as she recounted years of texts, photos, whispered threats, and manipulations. Each detail, dates, locations, names, came together to create a narrative that matched Bieber's early morning post. When she described how Diddy had insisted she clear every text and meeting with him before talking to anyone in the industry, several jurors exchanged glances. One juror pressed her lips together, while another raised her eyebrows so high they nearly vanished beneath her hairline. However, it was the moment the prosecution presented security footage from 2018 that truly impacted the day. The video showed a younger Cassie approaching an industry colleague in a hotel lobby when Diddy suddenly appeared, wrapping his arm around her waist and pulling her away. The clip played on a loop 3 times, and each time, Diddy's face turned the same shade of red as the man seated before the jury. "Why did you stop her from speaking to him?" the prosecutor asked, maintaining a calm yet persistent tone. "She was trying to ask for help," Cassie replied. "He told me that if I talked to anyone without him, I would never work again." Silence enveloped the courtroom. The jury took notes, and the judge's hand twitched above her gavel. Diddy's lawyer opened his mouth to speak, but then closed it, looking away. Then, Bieber's voice, recorded months earlier, echoed through the courtroom speakers. "This isn't normal, Cass," he had said. "You deserve better." The weight of those words hung in the air. There was no drama or spectacle, just 2 simple sentences that underscored a betrayal far deeper than any diss track. In that moment, Diddy seemed as if the ground had opened beneath him. He lowered his head and hunched his shoulders, rubbing his temple with one hand. For the first time that morning, he didn't approach Cassie. Instead, he slumped into his chair, defeated. As the day came to a close, reporters gathered at the exit, cameras flashing as Diddy emerged, surrounded by his team. His suit was wrinkled, his tie askew, and his eyes were red. Cassie followed moments later, walking confidently with friends by her side. The 2 groups exited separately, never crossing paths. By evening, the news was filled with headlines like "Diddy meltdown in court after Bieber supports Cassie" and "Mogul unravels on stand." Social media exploded with videos of his outburst alongside screenshots of Bieber's supportive message. Justin's 270 million followers saw what those in the courthouse had felt, a crucial turning point. In the following days, analysts examined every detail closely. Legal experts warned that Diddy's contempt could severely damage his reputation. Cassie's legal team quickly presented more messages that reinforced her testimony. Meanwhile, rumors of a psychiatric evaluation sparked speculation about whether Diddy's empire could withstand the fallout. However, beyond the legal issues, the real story was more intimate. It dealt with themes of power and control, mentorship and betrayal, and the price a young woman paid for being close to a legend. It revealed the vulnerabilities that even the most guarded individuals have. It also highlighted the moment when someone who once claimed to support you completely changed their allegiance. As the trial entered its 3rd day, it became evident that the narrative had shifted. The public was no longer just watching a celebrity lawsuit. They were witnessing the slow disintegration of a man's empire, piece by piece, under the weight of voices he could no longer silence. In that courtroom, the gavel carried more weight than any press release ever could. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on the story.